While we're in the middle of this marathon, I thought I'd talk about some of the good things that the 90s did, and some of the things that were kind of lost to time. And there's no show that fits the time period better than KaBlam. When I think about animation that oozes the 90s in the best kind of way, it's this show. It's not that it uses outdated slang or trends, but it's a show that could not have been made at any other time than the 90s. Shows like Hey Arnold and Dexter's Lab are really good shows that were made during the 90s, but they could have been made at any time. You could make a show just like them today without any retooling. If you made KaBlam today, you'd have to change fundamentally the soul of the show. And I want to compare it to something, but I'm not entirely sure. My mind goes to things like Adventure Time and Regular Show that really started up our trends. I couldn't imagine that laid-back style of humor from Regular Show any other time than the 2010s. And I'm not just mentioning Regular Show because I have the decency to notice its finale, even though I'm in the middle of a marathon that I could really have done at any other time. Not saying any names, Cartoon Network, but that was a really shitty thing for you to do. And yes, when I'm done with this marathon, I will get to that. A Regular Show episode review has been pretty long overdue. Even with the animation alone, KaBlam couldn't have aired at any time other than the 90s. It was a time when design didn't really follow the rules. You know, this is back when Klasky Koopa was big, and to say the least, how they designed people was weird. Not good, not bad, just weird. Definitely not following the quote-unquote rules, if you were. Ren and Stimpy follows a chihuahua that looks nothing like a chihuahua, and a cat that looks nothing like a cat. Rocko's Modern Life has Heifer, a cow, bull, that looks nothing like a cow or a bull. All of the heads of the Rugrats look like potatoes. Dexter is about 1/5 the size of Dee Dee, even though they're both supposed to be kids. And if you looked at the stills of Henry and June, or most of the in-between segments of KaBlam, it kinda looks juvenile. That's not a criticism, by the way, that was the intention of the show. KaBlam talked to kids on their level, and everything about the style of the show reflects that. That's the main difference between talking to kids, or any demographic really, and pandering to them. If a show is pandering to an audience, they throw in a bunch of superficial stereotypes and put in nothing else. Whether it be boogers and barf in boys' cartoons, rainbows and ponies in girls' cartoons, or blood and sex in adult cartoons. KaBlam talks about cartoons and comics and things that kids love, and the show has a very surrealist sense of humor, the kind that you'd have when you were a kid. But it actually takes itself and all of these attributes very seriously, and treats them like they're important. KaBlam actually isn't one show, but it's a compilation of several smaller shows. One of them was Action League Now, which was a cartoon centered around action figures. Not like Toy Story, where it's a cartoon about what action figures do in their daily adventures. It's literally live action and stop motion action figures. This is something they could have easily bombed or just looked stupid. I mean, going back, it is kind of cheesy. But once again, that's intentional. Action League Now tapped into the feeling of what it was like to play with action figures, and the kind of adventures the kid might imagine them going through. It, looking like it does, really enhances the style and meshes together very well. I've been hard on stylistic suck in the past because it's something that's very hard to do right. And it's so appealing to the people who want to put in the least amount of effort. If stylistically doing something bad doesn't add to your overall purpose, well, it ends up looking lazy, but also pretentious. Like, they're saying, it's okay that I'm doing this bad because I did it on purpose. Just doing something bad on purpose isn't an acceptable reason to do something bad. Try that excuse in any other area of life. Yeah, it's fine that I screwed up your order, but it's okay because I did it on purpose. Yeah, I painted your house the wrong color, but it's fine because I did it on purpose. Yeah, I kind of burnt your house down, but it's okay because I did it on purpose. In all of those situations, it comes off as worse, because you had the potential to do something decent, and you didn't. And you blatantly didn't. And that's even ignoring when stylistic suck is used just to cut corners. We don't have to spend money on animation if we make it look like shit. The benefit of stylistic suck is that you can truly envelop your audience in the world that you've created and meld their mindset into what they're watching if it's a specific type of show or a specific type of attitude that you're going for. It can give your audience a very unique experience. It was done so well with Action League Now that was one of the 2 KaBlam segments they got their own show. The other one, of course, was Angela Anaconda, proving that being unique isn't always a positive trait. Yeah, I've talked about Angela Anaconda before, and considering that I've got a very specific list coming up, I may have the chance to talk about it again. This segment is probably an example of what happens when ambition gets too far ahead of you, when you're too focused on your ideas that you don't actually use your brain. Angela Anaconda is technically impressive with its cutout animation, which was advanced and unique for its time, but it's just so ugly, and not in any meaningful or fun way. If it was actually animated characters, it would be a better show. And why make a show out of Angela Anaconda? I don't get that still. There were KaBlam segments that were not only better, but easier to produce, like Stitz and Fondue or Prometheus and Bob, or my favorite of them all, Life with Loopy. Now, I like most of the segments of KaBlam, but there's a range of pretty good to okay. Life with Loopy is legitimately one of my favorite cartoons of the 90s. It's amazing how far you can bring a show with just one interesting character, regardless of the concept. And Loopy is an interesting character. As you might imagine by her name, she's a bit weird. She takes things literally and takes them to their childish extreme. In the first segment, she doesn't have any friends, so she builds up a Frankenstein's monster robot. And actually going back to the show, I wouldn't be surprised if Phineas and Ferb took a lot of inspiration from these segments. Of course, the shows are completely different. In Loopy, the robot tries to lead a rebellion among all of the kitchen appliances.
This is weird.
It's much worse than I feared.
I'll close my eyes and make it disappear.
This is strange. It ain't home on the range.
In another episode, when a goldfish gets flushed because it has died, Loopy is told that the toilet leads to goldfish heaven. So she dresses up as a goldfish and goes down the toilet, where she finds goldfish heaven. Another episode has her eat so many eggs that she turns into an egg. And then a giant chicken comes to their house with the intent to sit on Loopy until she hatches. Yeah, it was that kind of show. So random is a phrase that originated from the 90s for a reason. It was the style of the era. And most of the shows back then have a kind of nonsensicalness that probably would not be tolerated today. Remember that even shows like Adventure Time feel the need to have a deeper meaning and intricate plots behind all of their randomness. Going back, you might find shows like KaBlam a little bit off-putting, or you might find them charming. It depends on your attitude towards the 90s as a whole. This type of humor is really a time capsule of the childhood of the 1990s. The episode that we're going to be giving an in-depth look at today is Trouble with Inflation. Ah, the innocent naivety of the 90s. It was a time before internet was popular and DeviantArt existed, and I knew about the darker sides of both. The first thing that you probably noticed about Life with Loopy is the technical aspects. It's a mixture of stop motion, live action, and puppetry. Not only that, it's surprisingly really good stop motion and puppetry, especially for a television budget. To be honest, it was hard for me to get the technical information about the show because we're talking about a cult classic within a cult classic within a cult classic, and they don't tend to make documentaries about those. According to the creator in a brief magazine interview, the bodies are stop-motion puppetry, but the faces were made of metal, and their features were magnetic, letting them change the expressions easily and fluidly. I've never heard of this being done before, but it really worked, and led to some really good expressions and some really fluid animation. I mean, it's not Nightmare Before Christmas or anything, but on a television budget in the 90s, it's really good. I'd say the stop-motion here looks better than it did in Glen Martin, and that show came out a decade later. And not to mention, Life with Loopy has its own unique style that really works for it. The story is a simple one. The episode starts with Larry going on about how calm that his father is, in pretty much every situation except for...
Bills! Bills, bills, bills!
Loopy figures that this is the problem of the mailman, bringing them bills. You don't need to have much story to have a really good, funny, or charming cartoon. More can be very helpful and very beneficial. But a simple back and forth premise is basically how cartoons have always been. Tom wants to catch Jerry, Elmer Fudd wants to hunt Bugs Bunny, Yogi Bear wants a picnic basket, Loopy wants to stop the mailman. In a simple scenario, it's all about escalation. Start simple. Loopy starts by acting cute and singing a little song.
Hey there, friendly mailman, there's something I gotta say. You're such a lovely person.
Mostly bills today.
Then you ramp up really quickly. Remember, this is a 3-minute long episode as opposed to the 7 or 11 or even 22-minute time spans that most cartoons have to get all of their jokes out. Immediately after this, Loopy builds a haunted mansion in front of their house in order to scare the mailman away. And here, the stop motion really shines. And then, towards the climax of the episode, you ramp the premise up as far as you can. Loopy inflates the house in an obviously cheesy effect, which fits with the style of KaBlam as a whole. Things are going really well, and so the mailman finds them, delivers bills, and their father pops the house down. And then we have the cherry on top of the classic plot formula, a nice ending. Either it can be a really funny joke, or it could be a really sweet moment. And I think that this ending is why so many people would pick this one as their favorite Life with Loopy episode.
Sorry, Dad. Couldn't do anything about the bills. But I thought you'd feel better if sometimes you got a nice letter in the mail, too. Love, Loopy.
One problem that Nickelodeon has always had is that they're not selective about what cartoons that they air, but they're very selective in which cartoons that they care about. And that doesn't even seem to have much to do with quality, or somewhat even popularity. You can easily find complete DVD collections of Hey Arnold, SpongeBob, Chalk Zone, and Fanboy and Chum Chum. Meanwhile, good luck finding any DVD releases of Pelswick, The Brothers Flub, The Mighty Bee, The X's, or KaBlam. Now, if possible, I do buy all of the shows that I review. This is why I'm waiting so long to do a review of the Loud House episode. It's not on DVD as of the time of this review, and you can't really take footage from Amazon Prime. Because in the 21st century, who ever heard of customers' rights, and allowing the customer to be able to do whatever they want with whatever they purchased? As you might have guessed, sometimes it's not possible to buy what I've reviewed. For instance, I reviewed a few drop pilots in the past that obviously aren't on DVD. And, there was Hammerman like last time. If KaBlam or any of its shows becomes available to buy on DVD, I encourage you to do so, and I will be doing so myself. Until then, every episode of Life with Loopy is available here on YouTube. And as for KaBlam itself, the creator of Henry and June, Mark Merrick, has hosted all the episode free for download on his website. I'm going to give you guys the link, but please don't crash it like you guys crashed Zipcast. His website looks like it was programmed in the 90s. I don't think that it could survive that kind of strain. But maybe if we proved enough demand, then maybe Nickelodeon will listen and actually start putting KaBlam and some of their more obscure shows on DVD. They recently put the show's intro on their YouTube account, so who knows what the future for KaBlam holds.
Did you do all this for me?
Well, I had a little help.
Prepare for live feed to screen and wipe the source.
I put